Greetings to you and welcome to this episode of Grace Podcast. I'm Timothy Muse. I'll be your host as we spend this time together today. It's a joy to be with you. I want to thank you for tuning in. I want to thank you for making this podcast a part of your journey. And as always, I want to thank you for being on the journey. It is so awesome that you're here. It is so incredible that you're walking this walk, that you're making this effort to expand and grow in yourself. I've always said most people don't. They just stay where they are. They just expect things to happen, but they don't really invest in themselves. But you're here because you want something more. Maybe there's a particular area in your life that needs to grow and expand. Maybe you're just looking to expand in general, have a little bit more flourishing and a little bit more happiness and satisfaction in your life. Maybe you're just not sure. Maybe this is the first time you've tuned in. And if it is, then welcome to the podcast. If you've been coming back, welcome back. Whatever it is that brought you to this point, whatever it is that brought you to the process of self-awareness and self-growth, I want to thank you for being there. I want to honor that. I want to celebrate you for that. Even if you're just gathering information, you know what? Taking that initial step, asking that initial question, so powerful. And I'm so glad that you're here. If this podcast is helpful, please share it out there. Put it out there on your social media feeds. I post on LinkedIn, X, Instagram, and Facebook. If you follow me or the life coaching on any one of those feeds, you're going to see these episodes. Please share them. Tag me in it. I'd love to see where you are. I'd love to see where you're listening at. If you're on one of the listening platforms, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or Amazon Music, follow us. Give us a rating and review if you haven't done so already. Every positive rating and review tells the platform people are listening. And it will notify you that there's a new episode that comes out when it's published. And if you want to reach out to me directly, GraceLifeCoaching.com. It's got all my stuff on it. It's got my contact information, what I offer. If you need some coaching, if you got some questions, if you just want someone to come alongside you a little bit and help to kind of deliberate where you might be going next. I can do what I can do. I will. If I can help you, I'm all for it. GraceLifeCoaching.com. So I want to keep going on in this sessions we've been doing about the power of friendship. We've spent the last several sessions talking about how to build one, how to sustain it, how to navigate challenges, how to set boundaries when relationships become unhealthy. Today I want to talk about something that many people experience, but often don't talk openly about. And that's making friends as adults. Because for many people, this is harder than it sounds. You know, when we think back to our childhood, when we think back to our younger years, children or teenagers, making friendships became natural. You know, they formed naturally. You were in school together, you were on the same teams, you were in shared environments every day. Friendships happen almost by accident. They happen because you're in a shared place, a shared time, and a shared experience. But as adults, life changes. You know, schedules become full, responsibilities increase, opportunities to connect become less frequent. And many people find themselves asking, why is it so hard to make friends now? Why is it so hard to make friends as an adult? So let's understand a little bit about why that happens. Some of the reasons adult friendships take more effort and why it's harder to do. One of them is busy schedules. I mean, look, our schedules are packed. You know, we have work responsibilities and family commitments, daily obligations. Time becomes limited. Our time becomes limited. And our time is our greatest commodity. It's the one thing that we can't get back. We can earn money, make money. We can earn friends, make friends, but we can't get more time back. So as time is limited, relationships often become less of a priority, not intentionally, but practically. So when schedules get busy, connecting and building relationships becomes less of a priority because there's just practically no room for it. You know, not only with busy schedules, but we have fewer shared environments. As adults, we don't automatically spend hours each day with the same group of people like we did when we were in school. Look, you have a classmates, and whether you're in the same classrooms or the same, sessions or not, you see each other every day. You check in every day. You build every day. Our environments as adults are more fragmented. You know, we have work environment, home environment. There's errands, there's responsibilities, there's sports, there's this, there's that. And without consistent shared environments, friendships require more intentional effort. We don't have just the natural time that we're together, so they need more intentional effort because we have fewer shared environments. Then there's the fear of rejection. This is a big one, I think, for many people. As we get older, we become more aware of the dynamics around us. the family dynamics, the social dynamics, the gender dynamics. So that may cause us to hesitate in reaching out, in that awareness of the social dynamics. We worry about how we'll be perceived. We worry about how we're going to be seen. We may think, what if they're not interested? What if they're just not my vibe? What if they're just not part of my group? So rather than trying, we just close in. That fear of rejection. What if I don't fit in? So instead of taking the risk, we stay in our comfort zones. We stay where we know we're comfortable. Another aspect is emotional guardedness. When we're young, our emotions are free and there's really not a guard. But life experiences can make people more cautious, more reserved. As we get older, we have more layers of past hurt and past experiences. We have more broken trust. There's more disappointment that we filter things through. These experiences can make people slower to open up. They make us slower to open up. We guard ourselves. And while caution can protect us, which is very important, at the same time, it also limits connection. It limits how we connect with people. So those are some of the primary reasons why it's hard as adults to make friends. Busy schedules, fewer shared environments, fear of rejection, and emotional guardedness. So we have to shift our mindset, okay? We have to shift our mindset and understanding as adults, making friends don't just happen automatically. They just don't happen because we're in the shared space. They don't happen accidentally. It happens intentionally. I say that word a lot. When we're making changes, when we're growing and expanding, intentionality is so important. To be intentional about what we do, not just let things happen to us. We have to be intentional about living life rather than letting life live us. So if we want to make friends as adults, if we want to grow our circle as adults, then there's some things we must do. We must initiate conversations. We have to be intentional about initiating conversations. We have to be intentional about making plans. I know, we've all done it, haven't we? It's like, yeah, we should get together sometime. And then you run into that person 6 months later. Yeah, we should get together sometime. No, you have to be intentional about making plans. Yeah, we have to get together sometime. Great, let's have coffee next Tuesday morning. Are you available? That's intention. Make a plan. Initiate conversations. Make plans. Follow up. Follow up with that. Keep the connection going and create opportunities for connection. That is a mindset shift from automatic or accidental to intentional. Making friends as adults is about being intentional in the behavior. And one of the things about being intentional about making friendships as adults, about building relationships as adult, is finding places where consistent interaction and shared experience are present. Okay? Friendships often form where there is consistent interaction and shared experience. Think about when you were a kid. Think about the friends you got in high school or in middle school. It's because there was consistent interaction and shared experiences. You were in school every day. You saw the people every day. Maybe even in college, you were there every day. You were all in college together. You were there. You saw them. Consistent interaction and shared experiences. So we want to find practical places where friendships can grow. If this is something you desire, to grow your friendship base, to build more friends, then it's about being practical about finding places where friendships can grow, being intentional about going to those places. One of them is community groups. They're all over the place. Clubs, volunteer organizations, church groups, local events, things that people are doing together on a consistent basis. Being intentional about interacting in those places. These environments naturally create repeated interaction. Church or community groups or clubs. Club gathers every month. It's the same people or similar people gathering every month around a shared experience. This is where interactions increase. This is where relationships can grow, that repeated interaction. So building friends as adults is about being intentional about entering into environments that naturally create repeated experiences and interactions. Another place is work environments. While not every workplace leads to deep friendships, shared time can open up the door to connection. Okay? Simple conversations can gradually build into a rapport. We work in the same place with the same people every day. Now, we don't go to work to build friends. We go to work to make a living, to build a career, to earn a living. But in that shared experience, we have the capability of building connections, building rapport, building deeper connections with people. This is one of the reasons why if someone works, at a same place for a long period of time and they retire or they move on, there's that party at the end. There's that relationship ending circumstances because you've had this shared experience for over a long period of time. Another place is shared interests or hobbies. Different than a club, but it's being intentional about this is what I'm interested in, and I'm going to find places where I can connect with others. Maybe it's a fitness group or a yoga class or a Pilates class. Maybe it's a sports league. Maybe it's adult softball or volleyball or what have you. Maybe it's classes. Maybe the local university or the local high school is offering, adult classes on photography or art or pottery. Or maybe the local art store is doing a pottery class. These are shared interests and hobbies. Creative groups, stamping and card clubs. These are areas that have a common interest and common hobbies. Again, and you're gathering with people with shared interests over a regulated period of time. Those are places that you can build relationships and ultimately build strong friendships out of. And also there's existing networks. Sometimes friendships grow through people you already know, friends of friends, introductions. Expand your network through your existing relationships. Expand the opportunity through the people that are already in your life, that are already there. Friends of friends, connections of connections. Hey, would you introduce me to this person or that person, or introduce me to your working group or your class or your fitness group? When we can look to our friends to network, that's a way that we can build new relationships through existing relationships. Friendship grows where people spend time together consistently. And you have to be intentional about that. We're not in a world as adults where we automatically spend time consistently in the same place with people, unless it's work. So you want to be intentional about building those places where you're consistently spending time with people. And that's where relationships grow. So how do you actually begin building a friendship? What are some of the steps? What are some of the ways to actually start? I mean, let's get practical here. Yeah, those are all good ideas, but now that I'm in them, what do I do? How do I do this? I haven't built friendships in years. What's the process? The first step is to start small. Friendships don't begin with deep conversations. They start with simple interactions. They start with a greeting, a simple conversation, a shared moment, a small connection, a way to be able to connect with people in some, not necessarily superficial form, but some lighthearted and easy form. Maybe it's commenting on someone's shoes that you like, or their tie, or their, what they're eating, or something that you have some kind of commonality. Keep it small. You don't need to go deep into the weeds in a first conversation or a second conversation. Let things build over time. So start small. Start simple. You're building something that you want to last. Well, you don't want to build it overnight because it's not going to last if you build it overnight. Be approachable. Be approachable. I mean, we want others to approach us, so we need to be approachable. A smile. Eye contact. A smile is probably the easiest way to disarm an awkward circumstance. Smile. Show, teaching and show approachability. I teach a class of students about how to be men. And one of the things we talk about is handshakes and the initial introduction and how we shake hands. And one of the things about shaking hands is smile. I tell them, nobody wants to shake hands with somebody who's got a grumpy face. Well, no one's going to approach you if you have a grumpy face. So smile. Make eye contact. Eye contact shows that you acknowledge them, that you see them. We live in a world where so many people feel that they're not seen. So make eye contact. It shows that you see them. Simple openness. Be a little bit vulnerable. You don't have to go deep, I'm telling you, but be a little bit vulnerable. I like those shoes. I can't wear those shoes because, my feet don't work really well in them, but they're great shoes. There's a little bit of vulnerability. Simple openness. These small signs make it easier for others to engage you. They make it easier for not to help people respond to you and be open to you in a likewise manner. So be approachable. Ask questions. Ask questions. Be a little bit probing and inquisitive. People appreciate genuine interest. People appreciate when someone shows interest in them. Ask about their experiences, their interests, their perspective. Again, you don't need to go deep. You don't need to go way into the weeds, but ask good questions. Questions create connection. It gives you the ability to find shared experiences and find shared topics. And the big thing, follow up. This is where many people stop. You have a great connection, a good conversation, but then that's where it lays. That's where it stops. Hey, give me your digits. I'll text you. And then they don't text you. A simple message, an invitation, a second conversation. Consistency builds connection. So be consistent. Follow up. Help people realize that they were remembered and important. This is how good conversations and good relationships are built. So a couple of easy steps. Start small, be approachable, ask questions, and follow up. Remember now, as I said, this is all intentional. If you want to build these, you have to be intentional. They're not going to happen just by accident. Now, I can probably hear some of you saying, that's all great, man. That's awesome. But it's just so awkward to do that. Yes, it is. Starting new friendships can feel awkward. Starting new relationships feel awkward. And here's the thing, that's okay. Awkwardness is part of the process. If it was easy, if it wasn't awkward, everybody would do it. But awkwardness is part of the process. Every friendship you currently have likely started with a small, slightly uncomfortable interaction. Some kind of awkwardness. And that's okay. Awkwardness is part of the process. Confidence grows through action. That awkwardness goes away through repeated interaction. The more you initiate, the more natural it becomes. And that's with anything. I've been a speaker for 27 years, 28 years. I've done thousands of different messages. Heck, I've done 322 podcast episodes. I wasn't the best when I started, and I'm still not the best. I'm still growing. But you're going to be awkward. And awkward is okay. If you don't want to be awkward, then you're just going to be isolated. So awkwardness is okay. Embrace it. Realize that awkwardness is part of the process. It's all right. Because if you don't embrace that awkwardness and initiate the conversation and take the step, you're going to go nowhere. So you need to initiate. It's so important. Most people are open to friendships. Most people are open to building connections and relationships, but many are waiting for someone else to make the first move. Many are waiting for someone else to make the first move. A lot of times I think about adult friendships as like those middle school dances, where the boys are standing on one side and the girls are standing on the other side. The boys want to dance, the girls want to dance, but neither one of them want to make the first move. Neither one of them want to step out and initiate the conversation. So for you, if you're looking at building relationships and gaining more connections, then you are the initiator. When you take the initiative, you are often creating opportunities, not just for yourself, but for others as well. So you smile, you make eye contact, you introduce yourself, you ask a simple question, you build and begin the conversation. But there's power in initiating it yourself. You are the one who has the desire, so you initiate. And then go from there. And maybe you initiate something and you have a brief conversation and that's the end of it. So what? Okay. This isn't person that you're connecting with. Your energy isn't the same. Your interests aren't the same. That's fine. You're still learning. You're still gathering data. It's like, I approached somebody, we talked for a little bit and we went our separate ways. The world didn't fall apart. My hair didn't fall out. My feet didn't fall off. It wasn't the end of the world. That's the power of initiating. When we initiate, when we do actions over and over, it creates confidence. But we are the initiators. You're here, you're listening to this, which means that you're going to want to initiate. You're the one who wants to step up and smile and introduce and ask a couple of questions. So here's what I want you to do. Ask yourself a couple questions. Am I waiting for friendships to happen, or am I creating opportunities? If you're waiting for friendships to happen, if you're waiting for something to happen, you're going to wait a long time, because that person over there might be waiting too, and you're both waiting for something to happen, and neither one of you are going to initiate. Where's my current environment that I'm working in that friendships could begin? Do you have an environment? Do you have an environment where friendships could begin? Is it time to start thinking about other environments, places you can go, invest your time, hobbies or interests or community groups? Is there someone I could reach out to this week? Big question. Is there someone you could reach out to this week? That's what I'd like you to do. I'd like you to identify somebody that you could reach out to. Choose one person. Initiate a conversation. Initiate a conversation. Maybe someone that you've thought about a long time ago, haven't talked to in a while. You know what? Reach out to them. Send them a text. If you meet somebody new or you see somebody interesting, introduce yourself. Keep it simple. Approach them. Be genuine. Remember, friendships begin with simple steps. They don't begin with huge, massive things. They begin with simple steps. So enter into those environments you're in and see about initiating a relationship, a conversation. Again, it may go nowhere. It may be a 30-second interaction and that's that. And that's okay. You're still learning. You're still growing. But the power of possibility is huge. So be approachable. Think about one or two people that you could introduce yourself to or reintroduce yourself to. Maybe someone you follow on Facebook or Instagram that you haven't talked to in a long time, but you were really strong and connected. Reach out to them. Re-engage. Be intentional about building relationships, because friends are one of the greatest things. Like I said at the very beginning, the 5 regrets of the dying. One of the 5 regrets of the dying is I didn't stay connected with my friends. So stay connected with your friends. And if you haven't connected in a long time, reach out. Say hi. Send them a message. Send them a text. Give them a phone call. Be intentional, because they may be waiting as well. They may be thinking the same thing. So be intentional. Be intentional about building those relationships, because strong friendships can be some of the most powerful gifts that we can possibly give ourselves. Absolutely. Some of the most powerful gifts we can give ourselves. That's what I got for you for today, my friends. I hope it's helpful. If it is, please share it out there. Put it out there in your social media feeds. I post on Facebook, LinkedIn, X, and Instagram. If you follow me or the Life Coaching, you're going to see them. If you're on one of the listening platforms, follow us, give us a rating and review. And if you want to reach out to me directly, GraceLifeCoaching.com is a website. I truly would love to hear from you. At Grace Life Coaching, we want you to be the best you.